Dear students, I welcome you all to this lecture on Aristotle's state and political man. The main objectives of this lecture are to understand Aristotle's notion of state, to understand Aristotle's concept of political man, to analyze Aristotle's views on evolution of state, to examine the role of individual in Aristotle's ideal state, and lastly, to encourage students to critically assess Aristotle's arguments on state. Aristotle, the ancient Greek philosopher, made significant contributions to political philosophy, particularly in his works Politics and Nicomachean Ethics. Aristotle's views on the state and the concept of the political man are central to his political philosophy. In this lecture, we explore Aristotle's perspective on state and the concept of political man. Aristotle's political philosophy is grounded in the concept of polis or city-state. He believed that human beings are naturally political animals, also called zoon politikon, and that the polis is the highest and most complete form of human community. According to Aristotle, the primary purpose of the state is to promote the good of life, eudaimonia, for its citizens. The state exists to facilitate the development of virtues and realization of human potential. It is not just a means for securing basic needs, but also for fostering moral and intellectual growth. All this is influenced and drawn from ethics. Let's explore zoopolitikon or political man in Aristotle's writings. Aristotle asserts that humans are social beings and contends that the state is a natural institution. The state, though grows for sustaining the life, its continued existence is justified only if it provides good life. According to him, man can be described as zoon politikon or the political animal because it is only within a political community that he fully recognizes his inherent essence, which is to develop into a morally upright being. Aristotle's most famous sayings, man is by nature a political animal, is motivated by his claim that every man by nature has an impulse towards a partnership with others. This also means that it is the man only who has an intellectual capacity to develop and pursue the vision of good life. Not only is it the capacity to develop, but an ability to pursue and socialize all people to realize the goals of life. Each object has a purpose. So has the political association. By political man, Aristotle means the deliberative capacity to establish a good society for the moral development of man through the highest association, that is, the polis. Aristotle's statement that man is a zoopolitikon has significance for his theory of state. Man is naturally sociable, which means that he is drawn to various social associations in order to satisfy his needs. Aristotle's view holds that humans have an inherent inclination to form bonds with others because they cannot thrive in isolation. For humans to attain happiness, they must establish connections with fellow beings. Aristotle examines various forms of human associations, including households and communities. But a significant partnership which aligns with human nature and facilitates the pursuit of highest good is the polis, a political union. Thus, a city or polis is characterized by a community of individuals who coexist by crafting laws that ensure the survival of collective while nurturing the growth of individuals. Aristotle establishes a connection between natural organism and human organization. Just as each organ in a living creature has a distinct role, individuals in society have different responsibilities. In a living body, various organs carry out diverse functions, and the body maintains harmony in its operations. In a similar manner, the state facilitates the interaction of numerous individuals, and the division of labor fosters cooperation and harmony in society. Aristotle maintains that human beings possess the power of speech, which is a crucial element for a political community. It is through the use of language that humans can determine how to coexist harmoniously, as speech is the very means by which they uncover what is beneficial and detrimental, and consequently what is just and unjust. So, there is a common assumption that the polis is an exclusively human institution, suggesting that non-human animals are not inclined towards politics because of lack of speech, which is believed to enable an understanding of concepts like good, bad, just and unjust. Nevertheless, it is worth noting that in Aristotle's discussion in Politics, he also asserts that humans are inherently more inclined towards politics than bee or herd animal. Aristotle's belief that humans are political creatures is an interesting analogy. This viewpoint not only portrays humans as social beings, but also characterizes them as inherently political entities. Aristotle employs the concept of good life to philosophize his assertion that humans are naturally political beings. He contends that various living organisms exist in groups and therefore can be considered social animals. However, it is unique to human beings to desire a life of excellence and quality. Unlike other living creatures, human beings are not content with mere survival. Their unceasing yearning for a meaningful and virtuous life inherently makes them political beings. He says, "He who does not live in a state or who does not need a state is either beast or a god," meaning thereby human excellence is not possible without deliberating about it, and accomplishing the same is conditioned solely by forging association at the largest and highest level. Let's talk about Aristotle's idea of state. According to him, state is a necessary condition for all humans and is the highest associations in which men satisfy their all needs. The political man of Aristotle tries to live a good life that is possible only in state. A human being cannot survive in isolation, and thus men and women build a household. According to Aristotle, the state has its origins in necessity, and the natural order as individuals on their own cannot fulfill all their needs. The instinctive drive to satisfy these needs compels them to seek assistance, starting with a spouse and servants, then progressing to fellow villagers and ultimately fellow citizens. This innate inclination toward social interactions, driven by the pursuit of satisfaction, is a fundamental aspect of human nature, and it signifies their inherent predisposition for communal living within a state. In this context, the sexual instinct plays a very significant role in laying the foundation for family life and household, as it instills in men and women the notion of perpetuating the human race. Consequently, the household stands as the first natural society, emerging as a consequence of the innate desire for the fulfillment of both men and women's natural inclination. The coming together of men and women also played a role in dividing tasks, that is, division of labor, to meet their daily needs. And this economic drive contributed to the establishment of family as the earliest human community. Consequently, the family served as the initial building block of the state, which stood as its most advanced form and marked the pinnacle of human social and natural progression. The aggregate of household forms the village, just as the parent or elder, husband or father was the king of the family. In the same way, when families were combined into the village, the patriarchal or kingly form of government continued. As human life gains value, the state progressively evolves from the family, advancing through the village, all in pursuit of better quality of life. Human requirements are diverse and extend beyond what a single family can adequately provide for. As a result, multiple families come together to create a village, which organically emerges as a response to the increasing demands and necessities. The village, while more complex than a family, still grapples with the growing requirements of its members. So, nature's progression does not culminate with the emergence and consolidation of the village, while the village managed to fulfill more requirements and represented a more substantial moral community. It did not attain self-sufficiency economically and was insufficient in promoting the highest level of moral and intellectual development in individuals. The villages subsequently joined together, giving rise to the formation of the state. This progression marks a natural evolution in response to the escalating complexities of societal needs and governance. In this manner, the state, as the most advanced form of organization, is a product of the intricate interplay between various households and communities as they strive to fulfill the diverse and evolving demands of their members. It is in the state that humans can meet their needs. The state's presence holds a significance comparable to that of a family or village and is regarded as just as natural. In this regard, Aristotle's perspective asserts that the state originates to facilitate the preservation of life and endures to enhance the quality of life. Yet, in contrast to many human associations that often have limitations and only address certain aspects of a good life, Aristotle saw the state as capable of encompassing and fulfilling all dimensions of a well-lived life. Aristotle contends that the state is prior to the individual, even though humans predate the establishment of state. It is the state that completes and elevates the individual, making it more essential than the political individual. The state confers value upon the individual. Aristotle argues that the state is crucial for humans to harness their abilities. Involvement in political processes such as elections and contests is only possible through the state. Furthermore, he posits that one must be a member of state to engage in the judicial system. Like Plato, he does not draw a clear distinction between the state and society and deems it a crucial component for a well-lived life. According to him, these two institutions are indistinguishable and complementary to each other. It is crucial to grasp Aristotle's rationale for considering the state a natural component of human existence. In his view, the sole distinguishing feature between humans and animals is the human desire for and awareness of leading a virtuous life. This implies that human beings set themselves apart from animals when they exist within a state. This innate desire for a good life is the driving force behind the natural emergence of a state. Aristotle also held that the belief that a human being, when refined and developed to their fullest potential standards, as the most superior among all animals. However, in the absence of law and justice, a human being becomes the most wretched of all creatures. Hence, in a society lacking the framework of law and justice, Aristotle deems a person to be the most deplorable among living beings. Ultimately, Aristotle views the state as an ideal community that has achieved a level of self-sufficiency. This self-sufficiency extends to an economic aspect as well. He employs the term autarkia, signifying self-sufficiency. In a broader perspective, this phrase encapsulates a condition of absolute autonomy in both moral and psychological dimensions. It signifies that an individual's active participation in public affairs serves to prevent feelings of detachment or isolation. The concept of self-sufficiency stands in opposition to the idea of an estranged or disengaged individual. It is through active engagement in the state's affairs that an individual can achieve self-sufficiency, ultimately reflecting the state's primary objective. No doubt, human beings by their very nature tend to pursue their self-interest and may sometimes act against the interests of others. This can lead to the creation of laws, justice systems, institutions, and conventions that may be perceived as negative. However, Aristotle does not subscribe to this viewpoint. Aristotle holds the belief that laws and conventions are fundamentally positive and human beings have established them to serve their own advantageous purposes. The formation of state has occurred organically and should not be seen as a result of a deliberate contractual arrangement or human contrivance. It has instead grown into a response to inherent needs and dynamics of human society. Men have established a framework of laws, institutions, and conventions, primarily for their own advantage. These mechanisms were designed to serve their interests and have played a very positive role in enhancing the state's functionality and effectiveness. This perspective emphasizes the idea that the state, although a product of human ingenuity, has largely evolved to serve the collective needs of its citizens. The laws and institutions put in place are not arbitrary creations, but rather deliberate tools fashioned by humans to address the complexities of living together in organized societies. As a result, the state embodies a combination of collective wisdom and cooperative efforts aimed at advancing the common good. Now let us do some critical appraisal of Aristotle's theory of state. Aristotle's perspective claims that humans are the exclusive political animals. It is possible that certain non-human animals might demonstrate elements of political behavior. Remarkably, recent research in the realms of cognition and behavior suggests that particular group-living non-human animals can be regarded as political animals in the Aristotelian context. These animals are found to exhibit a rudimentary understanding of concepts such as what is good, bad, just, and unjust. This insight challenges the conventional perception that political behavior is a uniquely human trait and underscores the complexity of social dynamics in the animal kingdom. Aristotle's perspective lacks acknowledgement of the element of consent or the will of the people. This omission can perhaps be attributed to the Greek perspective that prioritized the collective over the individual, where the individual's existence served the city-state, rather than the city-state serving the individual. In this worldview, the state was an end in itself. Aristotle's assertion that state represents the highest form of human development and culmination of societal progress is strange, especially given his exposure to the vast Macedonian and Persian empires. It is surprising that he did not expand his political thinking beyond the city-state model and consider the idea of a world state as the ultimate achievement in human political development. However, due to his conservative nature and constraints of his era, he was unable to transcend these limitations and envision the unity of Greece as a single state, let alone the entire world. Aristotle's state theory has faced diverse critiques, within the primary criticism being its perceived totalitarian character. His idea of the state is comprehensive, encompassing all aspects of life. In his state, individuals do not maintain separate statuses. Rather, they are entirely integrated into the state. This feature of an organic and all-encompassing nature raises concerns about its resemblance to a totalitarian system. An additional facet of Aristotle's theory of state stemming from the premise that the individual is subordinate to the state is its inclination towards a form of governance that can be characterized as either totalitarian or authoritarian, as totalitarianism implies that the state assumes complete responsibility for the comprehensive development of the individual. Under this system, there is no recognition of individual initiative, where people assess their own advantage and disadvantage, nor does it acknowledge the role played by various social and political institutions in shaping an individual's character. The state takes charge of determining both the objectives and the means to achieve them. In a sense, in this authoritarian perspective, the state wields all-encompassing power. Aristotle's view on the state is all-encompassing, allowing minimal room for individual freedom. According to this viewpoint, there is a strong interconnection between the moral principles governing the state and those guiding the individual. Given that the state is perceived as the most advanced type of social organization, it is aptly equipped to shoulder the duty of clarifying and enhancing the moral and ideal principles that individuals aim to achieve. Therefore, according to Aristotle, the individual must be in a subordinate position to the state rather than the other way around. If the reverse were to be accepted, it would weaken the state's supremacy as the paramount organization and could lead to state's non-existence, therefore hindering the accomplishment of societal goals. This outcome is considered undesirable, cementing the notion that individual subservience to the state is an established and irrefutable reality. Aristotle's concept of the organic theory of state also strongly suggests elements of totalitarianism. He draws an analogy to an animal body in which the parts have no significance in isolation from the whole. However, the same cannot be applied to the relationship between the individual and the state. While the state can address some of the human needs, it cannot fulfill all of them. To achieve complete contentment and happiness, individuals seek membership in various organizations. Aristotle's state theory does not allow this. It is entirely perplexing how a political entity can, by itself, make all its citizens morally, ethically, and idealistically aligned. This is both physically impossible and morally unjustifiable. No single person or entity can assume complete and absolute responsibility for all individuals. Aristotle's polis is more than just an association. It is a community valued by individuals for its intrinsic worth, rather than solely as a means to fulfill individual objectives. In this context, the individual does not hold a prestigious position within the state, but is rather viewed as a means to serve the state's interests. Furthermore, there is no room for special treatment or distinctions among individuals, again indicating that Aristotle's state has traces of totalitarianism in it. An individual in Aristotle's schema is considered rational when they wholeheartedly submit to the authority of the state. However, it is important to note that Aristotle's concept also has its merits. According to him, the state's emergence is a natural process and not the result of contractual agreement. This does not imply that humans had no role in creating the state. On the contrary, the progress of human consciousness and intelligence has played a significant role in shaping the state's development. The state did not come into being suddenly, but rather it is the outcome of centuries of human efforts. The family, community, and the states are fundamentally natural entities. Even contemporary thinkers concur that state represents the ultimate form of political organization. Now let's conclude the lecture. It is evident that the state is a natural form of organization, and humans by nature are members of the state. Therefore, both the state and its individual constituents are intrinsic to human existence. Aristotle takes this idea further, asserting that humans are inherently political beings. The term political animal signifies an organism that resides in a polis or state. Nature has instilled in humans the inclination to be a part of a state, and Aristotle believed that living outside the state was not a feasible option for humans. The state, in his view, fulfills all the essential needs of human life. Aristotle argued that nature never acts without purpose, and to make humans political animals, nature has uniquely endowed them with the ability to engage in reasoned speech and possess other positive qualities. The implication of the term political animal is that humans are rational beings with the capacity for reason, enabling them to differentiate between good and bad, right and wrong, just and unjust. According to Aristotle, this rationality forms the basis of sharing a common perspective in matters that pertain to household or city. With this, we conclude today's lecture. Hope you benefited from listening to it. Thank you.